Well, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to Shady Oaks Farm. I told you I'd put a video out there using this Husqvarna wet stone cutting saw, tile and stone cutting saw. This is an MS 360. It will cut block up to 5.5 inches. I am cutting 3.5 inch solid caps, and I'll show you a little bit what I'm doing here. I'm just trying to finish up this job here. I've been cutting for the last few days here when the weather's nice, but I'll give you a little demo of how I cut these on here. It's pretty simple. I'll show you what I've cut already. Just give you a little, show you what I've done so far and what I'm working on, and just want to give you a quick look at how this thing works. It can cut. I got 6-inch block over there. What's cool about this saw is that you can do it like a chop saw, so you can cut pretty good size, put pretty good size block underneath here, and then cut down. So you can cut, 6-8 inch blocks, flip them over and cut them that way. So it works really well. But let me give you a quick demo. I'll show you what I've got going here, and then I'll turn it on and I'll cut one of these caps for you. So I'm cutting caps right now for this. I got to cut the angles. As you can see, I got a circumference around here. I'll go on the outside too and show you, but I got this left to do, and I'll be done with those on the curve, and then I got to do underneath the deck there all the way around. I got to add another row of block over here if I do that. But wrapping things up, and then we'll next spring we'll go ahead and put the pavers down and move on. So I'll bring you down below here. What I got a stool down there I'm stepping on. Let me go down below and show you what I'm doing here. So I'm lining these guys up, as you can see, the back edge. I'm keeping about a 1-inch overhang on the front. And well, on the straight part, I just use a string all the way down to get my same overhang on the block. Stairs are gonna be worked on later. We got to figure out what we're gonna do for a tread on those. We got a couple ideas here, but that's the last thing we're going to do. A little muddy today. We've had rain on and off, which we really need. So this is what the outside looks like on my curve. Now the thing about man-made stone is not all stone is going to be even. So for the most part, these are pretty flat, but if they're not, I have to grind them down. So normally what I do is I take my cap. I'll try to do this with one hand. So in this case here, this cap, I got a little lip there. I got to grind this down. That's why I say on some of these I got to grind down a little bit. So I need to bring this side down a little bit. It's riding a little high. So what I'll do is I'll grind this down and then work my way around. Sometimes, being a man-made product, sometimes you can find a thicker one. It's amazing how I'll go through the pile and I'll find one just a 1/16 of an inch thicker, and it will work out, but not all the time. So in this case here, I'll probably have to grind it down, but I'm gonna go ahead and grind that down, and then I'll show you what I'm doing on the when I get ready to cut one. So what I usually do, we'll say this one's ground down, so I got my overhang underneath here. So this is my next block here. You can see I'm working right around the corner here, and I look for my overhang. That's not too bad. I might push it in a hair more. It's just by eye and a peel there. And then I got my gap here, and so what I'll do is I'll take a measurement, and it just depends. Like this measurement here is about 2 7/8. So I'll either, what I'll probably do, what I do most of the time is I'll take half of it off here and half of it off of here, and then I'll go ahead and lay the next one on here and see how much I gotta do there. So I try to make these pretty well even cuts so the block doesn't look cockeyed. Now this one here, this side here, I don't need to cut anything off. This had something cut off in this one here. So here I got 2 7/8, so I'll do a 1 3/8 strong on each block here. So I'll mark my line here, but right now I'm gonna go ahead and grind this down here. I won't go ahead and record that, and I'll come back after I get it ground down. I'll show you what I did here. So let me get that ground down. It's a messy, dusty job, but somebody's got to do it, as they say. So I'll be right back. All right, so I'm back. I got that ground down, as you can see, nice and smooth there. I got my marks laid out for this one here, and then I got my marks on this one. Now this one's got to be ground down again on this side. I'll take a little bit off down the block down there, but right now I'm just going to go ahead and cut the angles on it, and I'll come back and grind that down. I'm using a DeWalt grinder, 4.5-inch grinder with a diamond blade, or diamond grinding blade on it. This one's corded. I have a battery operated one, but you just burn through the batteries as much as the grinding as mine doing. So I bought a corded one so I could not worry about going through batteries. So even though I got a lot of batteries, but it's just a lot of, putting a lot of pressure on it and stuff, and grinding those down, it would go through the battery. So you're better off just use a corded one. But go ahead and I'll pull these up, and I'll show you what I'm doing when I'm cutting these. See if I can get this camera angle right here so you can see. I think you can see pretty good there. Let me get a little closer here. All right, so I'm using these. It's chilly out here today, so I'm using these kind of, I don't know if you call them rubber or not. They're really, I use them for around the tractor and stuff for changing the hydraulic lines and stuff. They got that rubber grip on there, but I'm using it mainly because the water's spraying back on my hands. So if I use leather gloves, they just get soaked. So let me grab a stone here. Now the way I do these, I just flip them around if I got one on both sides. So this here, there's a face up on these guys. This has got a bevel on it, so that's my top. So I can't just do one side or the other. So what I do is, this thing will cut a 16-inch block with no problem. I just visually, I have a thing on here that will, you can attach on here for the angle, but every angle is different, so it's not really worth doing that. The only thing I wish they would do is they would build an extension table on these guys, something out here like this. I don't know why they don't do that, but it would be really nice if they build an extension table this way, and maybe even one this way a little bit. I don't know, but just a thought. I find myself sometimes wishing I had something a little longer. At one time I was attaching a piece of plywood here so it'd rest on there when I got one leaning over there, but then I just realized I just switch it around. I cut this way, flip the block around, because you got plenty of room to go all the way through with the 16-inch block here. So what I do is I find my line, like so, and then I'll run it down. Looks like I'm a little inside, so what I'll do is I'll adjust this. Take your time. And that looks good right there. So looks like it lines up. So what I do first is I plunge cut, because I cannot put the blade down all the way because these blocks are 12.5 inches deep. So, but it's not a big deal at all. So I got the water already filled up in the tank. So once I do that, I plunge cut. Lock it down. So I lock the blade down, and then go ahead and finish my cut. I go ahead and raise it back up. There's no blade torque in this thing, so when it cuts on it this way here, it doesn't torque the blade or anything, so it gets a nice even cut. You probably think I'm going a little slow. I have it set for 110 right now, so I'm running off a 20 amp breaker. I don't want to blow it, the breaker. I haven't yet, so you know there's no hurry to shove it through there or whatever. I love cutting wet because you don't have all that dust flying up and everything. Some people don't like to cut wet. The other thing, like I say, you can switch this over. This will run 220. But I'm in my backyard behind my house. I don't have a 220 outlet, so it's really nice. There's a little hatch over here. You can unscrew, flip a switch, and put it on 110. So a 110 with a 20 amp breaker. So I have a 20 amp breaker on my deck over there, no problem. The little, you know, if you've ever seen them, they got the little T prongs on them. So anyway, so there's that one cut there. I'm going to put this one down. I'll show you when I get it over there, you know, putting everything back together. I got one more to cut here, so I'll show you how I do that. That one's got a line on both sides. So all right, this has got a line on both sides. I usually keep a hose around here handy. Spray this tray off, just so I don't get gravel and stuff on it, or the bits of concrete. Lay this block down, same thing. This one I'm going from the front first, back. Doesn't make a difference. Get my line marked. Got to come in on the back. All right, I'm ready to cut. I know it probably seems like it took a while to get that lined up, but you just want to be careful and make sure you get them lined up, because it is important to make sure you get that curve right. Plunge cut again. Lock it down. And just like that. Now I do have a steel demo saw, and you probably think, well, you can cut these with that. Well, one thing is about a demo saw is that you got to make sure you keep that blade this way straight, and then also making sure that you're keeping the blade this way straight. So you got two ways, you know, you can have it tilt like this or tilt like this. You know, it can be bad if you tilt like this, then, you know, your top edge might meet, but then the bottom edge, and you can have problems that way. The other way is if you're off this way at all, it's going to look like crap. If you go look at any of my lines there, they all look uniform and nice and butted up. So this makes a world of difference than using the steel demo saw. Like I said, I use a demo saw for the big ones. I used to. Now I use this thing for everything. But and I just like cutting wet. I don't like all the dust. You know, demo saw puts out so much. I should say that the demo saw is wet cutting, but my pants get just covered in concrete dust and soaked, you know, from the knee on down, because it just sprays everywhere. So this one here, I stay pretty dry, really. I flip it around, and you get pretty good at this after a while. After you do these for a while, you get pretty good about lining them up and where they need to go. So, like that one's pretty good right there, and just like that. So that was a fast one. A while ago, it took me a little longer. when you do enough of these, you kind of get an idea where the line is. And there you have it. So there's a cut, a hole in both sides. I'll go ahead and put it over there, and I'll bring the camera over there and show you what I got going on. So you're probably thinking, you know, to yourself, why is it taking me so long to do this? Well, you know, I am just one person. I am 70 years old. So that's a lot of block left. Each block weighs about 60 pounds. So you can imagine, I think there's close to 1,000 block in here. So, you know, I've done 90+ % myself. I had a little bit of help a couple days putting block down, but for the most part I've done it all myself. But here's the caps. So this is the one I just cut. Put it in here. I went ahead and ground it down to make sure it's flat. Get some dust out of there. It's kind of nasty today. It's kind of misty, so everything is getting kind of sticky and gooey, you know, with the concrete. So let me slide this one over. I don't know if I can do it with one hand or not. Get it in there. Yeah, I can do that. So matching up the back here, which is good. Top's good. Top's good there. And then my next one, I cut this side, I cut this one, and I cut this one. And I have not cut this one yet, so that one might get cut. A lot of times what I'll do is I'll put another cap down, I'll come back and bring this one back up and cut it. But I take that back. This one's has not been cut, has it? I don't know if it has or not. I don't think it has. But we're gonna see how it fits up first, because we're already hanging over here about 3/4 of an inch. So it might match up all right. So slide that one up. Nope, you can see that one's got to be cut, and I do have it marked, but we'll check it again. So that's a little bit too much hangover. So you can see my top though, nice and smooth. So we're going to bump this out about right there. So keep the back touching. I need to push this back a hair. Yeah. Keep the back touching back here. I got my crack here, and we'll take off that much on the next one. So what I'll do is measure this here. Looks like about a 1/2 inch. About 3/8. So I'll take off 3/8 on this one here. I'll go ahead, before I do that, I'll put my next cap here and work my way around. So I'm gonna put my next cap here, see what I gotta take off on it, if any, and then keep working my way around. Anyway, I just wanted to show you how that Husqvarna MS 360 works. Works great if you ever think about buying one. There's not a whole lot out there on YouTube. When I was getting ready to buy this one, I did all kinds of searches, and nobody did a demo on this saw here. I don't know why. There's another Husqvarna one that's a dry cutting one. It's pretty nice, but it's about the same cost, whatever, but I just didn't want all the dust and everything. It's got some blower on there, it catches the dust and everything, but it's still, I've heard reviews that it's still pretty dusty, but you know, you can't go wrong with a wet saw. This thing will cut, you know, pavers, concrete, like I say, 3.5 inch, I mean 5 inch, 5.5 inch concrete blocks. It goes through these 3.5 inch, no problem. Like I said, I go a little slower because I got the 20 amp breaker on here, but if I was hooked up to 220, you could probably power right on through it. But anyway, I just want to give you an idea what it looked like. I know I promised you, I showed you the unveiling of it, and I do a demo on it and how it works. So thanks for watching, and we'll catch you on the next video.